Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America. Back with us on the program, Robert Maxxim. Robert was born in Cuba, moved to the U.S. when he was a teenager, grew up in California. After studying music, science, and religion, he devoted his life to write about his sleep-time visits to other worlds and alien craft encounters, highlighting life's true virtues and purposes. In 2014, he published the first in a series of 5 legacy episodes, The Search for Love, followed by The Unholy Menace. His books have been earning industry acclaim, making frequent appearances in news, radio, book fairs, and conventions. And he's back with us on This Week in America, basically to answer a whole lot of listener and viewer questions on the program today. It'll take like 5 or 6 shows to get caught up with everybody. We get great response when Robert is with us. Robert, welcome to the program. As always, a pleasure.
Thank you for having me on board.
We've got hundreds of questions, and we're going to start through those and go through these. And if you have questions, go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You can submit a question that way, or go to any of Robert's websites, and I will give you those as we proceed through the program. First one is interesting. We talk about Unarius, and that's one of the websites we refer to you to is unariusunited.com. The question says, I've seen several Unarius websites. What's the difference between them?
That's going to be difficult.
I saw you catch your breath there as we started that.
Well, the difference is really like night and day, actually. You know, Rick, sometimes some of God's children just don't get it. They don't get how to serve infinity at times. But in the founder's own words, the founder of Unarius, Dr. Ernest Norman, he said, Unarius is an organization of spiritual leaders and teachers who function from certain celestial planes which have heretofore been known as Shambhala. This is an organization formed by thousands of teachers, doctors, scientists, and masters who have the destiny and guidance of mankind as their inspired life work. Now, that's no sci-fi. Many have been to these planes over time, including yours truly.
Yes.
So, been there, done that. So, Unarius is that it is a celestial. It's not a physical organization or building or people. It's celestial. But it's been known for thousands of years by names like Heaven, Janadu, Shamayim, Aru, and Valhalla. Some people think it's a cloud lined with golden streets, harps being given out at the entrance for free.
Yes.
Pleasure troves galore. How about this one? How about an Orion solar system? Seventh-day Adventists believe that. It's been grossly mistaken to date. Simply put, it's the kingdom within. It's a small, still voice, the higher self, that place between lives where you learn new truths and then come back to practice them. It's your teacher. It's your guide. It's infinite intelligence that motivates you and takes you through the progressive evolutionary cycle. Thus, no man or group can call themselves, own, represent, teach, or claim that name. Only you do. Now, the Infinite Prime Directive is as follows. Seek answers from yourself. Benefit man free of charge, free of fame, finger pointing or interference, respectful of all beliefs or stages of understanding or personal development, because that's what infinite love is all about. I'm not going to mention names, but there's one group that, shall I say, breaks every celestial rule imaginable, and what they do is they promote false alien stories. They do flashy parades in miniskirts and flags. They give readings. By the way, they charge for them. They'll deny it, but they do leader worship. and they have all sorts of man-made teachings that are not celestial.
Let me
And
ask you, I hate to interrupt there, but you said something, this is interesting, because one of the problems with the internet is we get a lot of information. We get a lot of false information. And if somebody is looking Unarius and they go in the wrong direction, from what you're saying, they are totally missing the whole basis of Unarius and what you talked about so eloquently a couple of minutes ago. Who are these people I think need to know so we can avoid that, especially if it's almost they sound like charlatans where they're charging you for some of this information. Who are these people?
well, they are located in El Cajon, California. They have been known as the Unarius Educational Foundation. And probably the worst thing about these people is they do something that I would never, ever dare do. That is, that they force their beliefs on you, and they'll even take you to court for using the Unarius name. These guys are not good news. Now, what does this have to do with personal evolution? It's the total opposite.
Yes.
This is basically what they're reliving is the Inquisition. This cult, I like to call them cult, because they basically hijacked celestial knowledge. They corrupted it. And yes, they will take you to court for your beliefs, and they will not stop until they do. What they're trying to do is anything ever having to do with Unarius, are trying to possess it. So they become the sole repository of celestial knowledge. And they're taking this against not only other students, but the whole world, even other religions. So word to the wise. Now you begin to appreciate how it is that many faiths succumbed in the past to human ideology. Same reason, same problem. History repeats itself.
That's interesting because all of the programs we've done where you talk about the different religions and the reason they break off and they start these, and I was thinking of that as you were talking about that, it's pretty easy now to see that we have literally, tens of thousands probably, of different religious forms in the world today.
And they're all based on the same problem, which is human ego, and not celestial inspiration. And like I always say, read original manuscript. And when it comes to celestial information, the best, most original and correct information I have found is that produced by Dr. Norman's works. They're the original. Anything else just isn't. Progressive evolution focuses solely on honesty and humility, not power, not forcing other people, not pitting one person against the other. No. It's all about, Rick, it's all about understanding infinite intelligence and energy. That's love. And asking nothing of others. Facing your own negative bias and learning just what that infinite love really is. Nothing else matters. The study of infinity is one's own private relationship with the infinite and no one else. Hence, and I said it before, belonging to a group just does nothing except pit one belief or people against another. It's just like selecting a football team over the other, and it's like, why? How does it apply to you? This is against infinite law, and it deviates from celestial principle, and of all things, it will corrupt truth. So never take sides. Never create a clique. Never create a group. Just have that relationship between you and the infinite. God does not divide. And no one is his agent but you. That's how cults are born. That's how they can be identified. And this belief in plurality and life and reincarnation, that's what has been found. And this group has certainly been responsible for a lot of the bad press since the 70s.
Wow.
for disbelief in reincarnation because of what they what they teach and what they do.
It's
It's
amazing.
unfortunate.
And the website we're talking about and direct you to, and this is the basis for what Robert does and what we talk about in the program, is unariusunited.com. Robert's website is rgaetan, gaetan.com. If you go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you can link on to both of those and get the correct information. And when you go to Unarius United, you will be very impressed. It's laid out perfectly. It gives you information, allows you to make up your own mind and to proceed from there. There's no mind control once you get to that page. It's very simple, unariusunited.com. Another question, and we're taking questions with Robert Maxxim, author of the Legacy series on the program today. If you have questions you would like to submit, just send them to thisweekinamerica.us. Go to the website and you can submit your question. Are aliens able to harm or help us, especially with medical or technological advances?
Oh, yes, they can, depending on who they are and what they want from us. We have to remember that not all aliens are aligned with infinite progressive intelligence. And achieving space travel, space technology is the case with us today. It doesn't necessarily make them or us either benign or friendly. So there's a lot of stuff out there. Some of it is aligned with the infinite. Some others are pretty much like us, that if we find some sort of a rare creature in the forest, the first thing we want to do is take it into the lab and open it up.
Yes. You know, it's interesting with your background in technology. Do you ever feel that they're assisting you along the way in your knowledge, your interpretation, your discovery?
Yes, this is what the celestial kingdoms are for. There are a lot of individuals that believe that they need to put their minds on aliens of some other planet to get more intelligence. You know, that's what I just got done describing. The only relationship you have to progress yourself is between you and your higher self. And that's what the celestial dimensions are there for, to guide you along. Don't take milk from anyone else. Just take it directly from the celestial dimensions and learn how to do that. And you know, people may call it God, they may call it heaven. That's where you need to go. Make no other alliances except with the highest possible celestial kingdoms. Go to no man, go to no alien. It's just between you and the infinite.
We've talked about this before, and I'll just do this and ask for a brief answer, then we'll get back to listener questions. We refer to them as aliens, and aliens sometimes, maybe most of the time, as a negative connotation. Is that the correct term? And we're not talking about basically what a black or white situation where aliens are good or bad, correct?
Right. Alien is probably not good terminology. Sometimes I use terminology that most people would be most familiar with, but hope this doesn't come as a surprise that most of us, I'm saying most of us, either of the flesh or of the spirit within, are not from here, where most of us are aliens. We have come to this planet to evolve, to experience the things that happen here. This world is a school of sorts, so we may come from Alpha Centauri for a couple of lifetimes here to experience, make proper decisions in the heat of battle, return, go somewhere else. The human body that we actually have, a lot of it was, shall we say, brought here. So there has been both the natural evolutionary course of human life in this world, but some of it was also imported over time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We'll go back to the questions, but I wanted to bring that up again because of the connotation with aliens, and we're back talking about aliens. The question is, what human traits upset aliens, and how do they respond when they're upset?
Well, just go down the street. Anybody you find, you'll get a different reaction
Yes.
from them. So any alien, or us for that matter, that gets upset with the way that someone is, looks, or speaks, reacts, isn't infinitely inspired. A brother is a brother unconditionally. We on earth violate that rule every second, if not sooner. Look how we react at times when our own flesh brothers, not to mention non-flesh, act. It's always me first, you last kind of thing, no love. I'm going to protect my ground. I'll do to you whatever it takes so that I'm protected. There you go. So advanced beings would never react to our ways because there's no such thing as an insult. There's no such thing. They understand why we hurt, why we steal and demean each other very well. And we should also come to that understanding. So if there is any alien that reacts to how we are, they are not of the highest possible plane. And we should not really be dealing with them.
Interesting. I think that answers that question. And we appreciate, by the way, all of the questions coming in. We will desperately try to get through all of these, but we really have great listener response when Robert's on the program. We touched on this before, but I'll ask him, we sort of tie this up and put a bow on it. Are you able to understand and appreciate the technology? Will you ever be able to implement it here on Earth? And when I read that, I think of the pictures, the drawings that you've done of visits and the technology that's available there. When you see that technology, does that inspire you to possibly see something like that here on Earth?
Oh, it sure does. And it brings a lot of memories, Rick. We're on our way to do so. And I think a reading legacy might help us get there faster, maybe. But all kidding aside, what we have to remember is spirit must be held way above technology and the tiers. Otherwise, Atlantis and Lemuria are going to repeat all over again. They destroyed themselves trying to become a group. I talked about groups a few minutes ago. Yes. And control technology, control people, control the world. And that's what destroyed them. Their own technology did. So I remember, I redress what President Kennedy once said. Ask not what spirit can do for technology. Ask what technology can do for spirit.
Interesting. Words to live by. There's a lot of information there, and I'm thinking as you're talking about that. So, if focusing on this, our first basis is technology. We're wrong.
Exactly. Technology is there to support spirit, and technology without spirit is a disaster.
Robert Maxxim, our guest in the program, he mentioned the Legacy series. We get caught up and forget to mention that. Legacy series, basically his story, 5 episodes. You'll find those that are now available by going to Amazon.com, also at Robert's website. Let me give you that. That's rgaetan, RGAETAN.com. Information on what we're talking about today, more information at the website we mentioned a few minutes ago, unariusunited.com. And by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you'll get background on Robert and information on all of the websites. Question in talking about legacy. In legacy, you search for your soulmate. Did you find the soulmate in real life more than once? Because you've done this several times. And I find that an interesting question because, you found her. How many lives have you found the soulmate you've been looking for?
Well, face to face, not in this life, but in others, indeed. At least 7 that I know of. There's probably more. To her credit, with all the mistakes I've made over time, Maylen is one patient, loving soul that puts me to shame. 127,000 years, I should have become closer to the soulmate. But the taste of technology, and we were just talking about that, the taste of technology won my heart instead of hers. And I went the technology route, and that's one of the things that caused the destruction of Mars, caused the destruction of Lemuria. So, yes, Robert Maxim has not been a true spiritual star over time. He's made a lot of mistakes. And following technology instead of the love of his heart was a huge mistake. Word to the wise.
So you go through an evolution just like all of us do.
Oh, indeed.
You just may have a clearer path to get there with the knowledge you have. We sort of stumble through things and try to piece it all together. Again, it's a legacy series available at Amazon. Another question, is there an advanced parallel universe that's watching us?
Oh, yes, without end. Let's call them dimensions for a moment because they are, in a way, frequency bands on top of other bands, kind of like levels, much like FM station signals. You're into radio and television, so you probably know that in one transmission beam, you have several stations traveling to that, riding on top of a carrier wave. And the station that you dial into is the one you're going to hear. But all of those stations are coming into that radio receiver at once. Dimensions and universes are the same way. Each dimension is a different station. Each level of your own spirit is also a station. The higher self is one of them, and so is the lower self that we're here to deal with. That's another station. Your present incarnation is a conscious attunement to this dimension's radio station signal. So many folks have asked, how do I stop reincarnating? Well, once you learn to detune this station or overcome this station, then you can move on to higher stations and go somewhere else. I hope that helps.
Well, that's interesting. So we can, like on a radio or television, we can change a channel. We can change a station.
Yes, and that way you can change stations in your mind. As you evolve, you change stations. You create new stations. So where your mind is where your life will be. So if you're here, it's because you like this station. And you have to find out why, and then flip the dial. When you do astral travel, when you attune to higher dimensions, that's what you're doing. You're clearing all of this crud that's in your lower mind. You're clearing out a hole so you can attune to these higher frequencies. You just change the dial, and whoop, now you have that alignment to that higher world. What most people don't realize is that sometimes they think they're clearing all this stuff and they're attuning, but they're not going up there. They're going that way, or many times that way, and they don't realize it. That's why they have to learn about the science of life so they understand themselves, and only through knowing your own feelings can you tell where this wild dial is going to.
Right. Well, and you can get that information at the website unariusunited.com, as well as at Robert's website, rgaetan, Gaetan.com. Robert Maxxim, our guest on the program. Next question, and there's sort of two questions that are very similar. Recently read a news story from England that said aliens are watching us and could arrive on Earth in 20 years. Is that possible? And there's a question from another listener. Do aliens visit us, and for what purpose? Let's take the first one, the story from England that aliens are watching us and could visit us in 20 years. Do you see that happening?
No. They have been here before. They're here now, and they will be here always, because they are, in many ways, they're us. They're our brothers. And we're not alone, ever. But know that beings landing here would interrupt our evolutionary pathway. And that would be a really, really bad thing. It would be an escape mechanism for us. We would just give up dealing with ourselves, and we'll fall in love with, we now have spaceships, let's have fun, let's not look at ourselves.
That'd be a game changer, wouldn't it? I mean, we're talking about a whole different world we'd be living in.
That's right. And we forget the purpose why we're here, which is to overcome ourselves. And we just escape. Now, whatever being did that at the wrong time or with the wrong people, They will no doubt in their next lifetime, guess what? They have just created a dial to come here. They're going to die and then incarnate here to pay the piper for some time to come. Because that's what happened to me back in Lemuria. So I speak from experience. And it happened again in Atlantis. So hopefully I've learned that lesson. No landings. So any alien that lands here and exposes themselves to the world, they have no idea how the infinite works, what they're doing to themselves, and what they're doing to us. Still, many already have, and secret deals have been, shall I say, put in place with the government. And that, friends, that's interference.
So I'm still trying to sort out what you just said about landing here. So why are you here?
Well, because I made sufficient, shall we say, incomplete lessons in the past that I still have to finish up. I was one of those who was in college and I walked into first grade and showed off what I knew. And I distorted what the first graders were learning. They were learning how to draw letters and simple math, and I started teaching them other stuff that detracted them from what they had to learn in that grade.
You
So
actually
that's
knew more than the teacher, if I recall from past stories. I mean, you were advanced, certainly. That's sort of an understatement, but you really knew you knew the subject, you knew what you were talking about.
I volunteered to come here and design technology spacecraft for Lemurians. I saw what they were doing. I saw that they were not ready. But because I wanted a place of fame, I turned my eyes and I still did it. That was interference. I should have listened to my inner self that said, don't do it. Report what you have seen and tell everyone to stop giving technology to these people now. I didn't do it. And in a couple of days, I'm going to be providing a video on episode 4. And that video will show exactly what happened and what I did. And you will see how I turned down my own soulmate because I was so hungry for fame. I didn't even see it. And, I recognize a lot of people to do the same thing, and they think they're doing a great thing for people. They think they're doing something great for themselves. That fame is necessary, money is necessary. They have no idea what they're doing. They really need to stop, and they need to start looking at themselves real quick, because your fame and your rise to power is somebody else's detriment. You cannot rise to power or fame without hurting somebody else or taking it from them. So the law of love is never step over anyone. Never force yourself or really wield to take something from someone or be above them or be their ruler or leader, because what you're doing is you're stepping on them. So that's what Robert Maxxim learned from that lifetime, and that's why I'm here, Rick, to put it to practice. And what best way to work this out than to give that message?
We've talked before about ego and how detrimental that can be. You can find past broadcasts with Robert by going to thisweekinamerica.us. You can go to the iTunes channel. You can go to Podomatic. There are tabs that you can go and listen to the audio. You can go to YouTube and watch all the programs as well. You've got a video coming out that will be on your website, rgayton.com.
I know that we have another radio show coming up here shortly. I am so hoping it's ready by then. When people watch that, I think they will be shocked. It's a piece of history they don't realize, and they will have to define, was I a Lemurian? Was I on Mars? Was I attacked? Or did I attack? What role did I play with Robert Maxxim? What was my part in it all? Because it was not alone. There were many individuals that came down with me, and they also sought this fame. So,
Well, keep
again,
checking for that video. I am really, you've got me now at the edge of my seat, literally. I am waiting for that video to come out. We've got a couple minutes left in this program. We'll have Robert back, and then at that time we should be able to talk more in detail about the video. You mentioned, we've talked before in the past, that you were like a child musical prodigy. You were way, way ahead of your time, what, 5, 6 years old. Was that something to carry over from a past life?
yes, it was. Most immediately, Alexei, you can look this up, Alexei Sofronov. Alexei Sofronov, he was Tchaikovsky's valet. And he also assisted Tchaikovsky in, well, keeping him basically alive, but also helping him compose. So that background carried into this life. Before that, another individual who's, I think I've talked about him before in other shows, Giuseppe Valentini.
Oh, yes, yes.
Very, very little known musician, but I've carried music for several lifetimes. And of course, when I woke up to life in this life, guess what I was drawn to? Violin, piano, composition. That was my thing, concerts. Tchaikovsky, especially Tchaikovsky. Tchaikovsky was the first and most played composer I resorted to when I was young, for obvious reasons. So that is the background that leads to it.
It is always so fascinating to have Robert with us on the program, and he will be back very soon. Again, Robert Maxxim, Maxxim, our guest in the program, author of the Legacy series. Check it out. You'll find all the information at Amazon.com. Information at Robert's website, which is rgaetan, Gaetan.com, and UnariusUnited.com that we've talked about a lot on the program today. Robert, always a pleasure. We encourage the listeners and the viewers to get us questions. You can do that through Robert's website or our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Thank you once again for being with us. A lot. We've done with programs. It takes me like a couple of hours to go back and sort things out that you just said during the course of the program. And when you see his new video, I'm sure allow several hours after that to sort out what actually you've just seen. Robert, thank you as always for being with us on the program. Look forward to having you back with us.
My pleasure, and thank you to all the listeners who are contributing to wanting to learn more about the infinite.
And you can continue to do that by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. We're back on today's program right after these messages. Don't go away.